to make this video on how to protect yourself against radio microfrequencies because I have been exposed to them and I've learned a lot in the process. I think a lot of people don't know what the heck is going on a little bit because people think a lot of things, but you can't really know what's going on unless you have a meter in your environment. A lot of people think that everything is inundated everywhere and it's all the same and it doesn't matter what you do, and that's completely false. When you get a meter, you actually will see how things are. There could be one street corner in a city that's horrible, like completely immense radiation. The next street corner is fine, and it all depends exactly where things are located. And if you're in the countryside, does your neighbor have really strong like 5G router and there's no trees in between? There's so many different variables you can't know. Sometimes things are hidden, so you have to have a meter to actually see what's going on. And once you have that, you will probably find out that you're making the problem yourself. And a lot of people don't understand this. Even if you explain it to them, they have to have a meter so they can see it. And people will be shocked to see how much is coming out of the phone. I think most of all, we were just measuring my friend's phone, and I have never seen so much radiation come out of a phone. All phones are different. But the router and the Wi-Fi usually has a lot of frequencies as well. If you drive by cell towers, some are really weak, some are really strong. It depends. Usually in areas where there's more people, in cities they're very strong, and they add to them constantly. So the frequencies are constantly increasing. Many people say, oh, we had 5G and everyone's fine and it wasn't so bad. But what people don't understand is like it's constantly increasing. We don't know what the effects are, long term, short term. I know so many people that are sensitive. Because I'm sensitive myself, I kind of have to explain if I I don't want to talk to people if they have their cell phone in my face because I get migraines and they last for 5 days and I don't have time for that. So then I hear, oh, my mom's sensitive, or my cousin's sensitive, my friend's sensitive. I'm hearing it more and more and more. It's getting more and more normal, and people don't know how to deal with it. There's a lot of really bad symptoms. Some are like, some people throw up. I was reading this guy on Facebook. He was saying, I can see the cell tower outside my window. It's really, really close. I've thrown up 27 times today and I feel horrible. The doctor says everything's fine. I'm totally normal. He can't find anything. And people were like, get the hell out of there. Like, seriously, like... Then that was my experience to it. I threw up, I had migraines, it was absolutely freaking horrible until I had a dream I should get a meter. So be very also careful what meter you get. Some are really good, some are really, really bad. The good one is Safe and Sound Pro 2. It's excellent. I will actually link below the bad one because the bad one does not show like radio microwave. It's a tri-field meter, so there's like, it shows magnetic frequencies and electric frequencies, which are important as well. And should also be checked because some houses are super high magnetic fields. If the wiring isn't done properly for their electrical, and that also influences us to a great degree. It's not healthy. And then so if you have a bad radio microfrequency meter, you're going to think everything's fine. You could be like living literally in a microwave. So I'm going to link the bad one and you should take a look at it, never buy it. The funny thing is, it was like recommended by everyone, like Amazon and everyone and all the influencers say this is the good one. But it absolutely freaking sucks. If you were inside a microwave, it probably wouldn't even, maybe like have a little bit of reading. So that's important. And frequencies are a range. A lot of meters measure between like 200 megahertz to 10 or 12 gigahertz. And that is a 4G. I think these frequencies usually go together. We don't really have meters that measures 5G. They're like, $20,000 or something. But the Safe and Sound Pro 2 is the best meter, and it will give you a lot of information. Had I not had that, and had I not actually had a dream that I should buy a meter, I might be dead. Like a lot of my neighbors where I was, it was like extreme radiation. it was as much as it is like in a city with like 4 cell towers in a radius of like a mile or and a half or just half a mile. It was just it was just really, really high. Like where I am now, it's like 0.1. At night, sometimes that's 0.04. And then some cell towers have like 1,000 microwatts per meter square. Some have 10,000. Some have 530,000. That's like on the high range. When I drive by like the harp, there's like this harp ball down this way. It sends out beams in like in the millions, like 2.5 million and stuff. And that also came out of my friend's phone. Phones are very strong. They send out beams between you. So if your cell tower is there and your phone is there, there's going to be a beam. And if you're standing with your head, like let's say the cell tower is behind me, and I'm standing with the phone, it's going to go through, that beam is going to go through the head. It's not always a good idea. So there's a lot to learn, and it's kind of like a trial and error. I'm kind of like a nerd. I just like measure everywhere. I just go around measuring everything because I think it's very interesting to know. And sometimes the cell tower is a certain thing, and then like 2 months later it's like a lot higher because they added to it. So the frequencies that are 200 megahertz and 600 megahertz, which they call 5G, those are like I think it's T-Mobile. They have those pink lines in the commercials. They're very straight and they penetrate a lot of things like easily. They go more easily through things, through walls. And then there's the waves that go like this, and that's the millimeter waves, like the gigahertz. Real 5G, by definition, is something like 27 or 28 or something gigahertz to like around 100. It changes all the time because they increase and they find new waves and whatever. Like they operate on different levels, and it's not like. And these, I was just gonna say, these are easier to shield. They don't go through walls as easily. But if you, for example, have a 5G millimeter wave cell right out, and you should like research what those look like so you can actually identify them, because they can be on light posts, like on top of lights, like street lights. They can be on traffic lights. And if you have if you're selling something, you have a booth and you stand under this like all day. Like for example, in Vegas, I was on the strip and it was the radiation was so high, and it was like one of the first 5G. And people get sick. Like I talk to businesses and stuff around cell towers, and they tell me a lot of their employees are sick, and one just died of cancer last week, and 2 other are on leave because they don't know why they have headaches. And it's I'm going to talk about in another video the science and the health effects and what they've found through science, how it affects the body. It's very interesting. So if you have, for example, if you know these, if you Google it or not, if you DuckDuckGo it, I don't know what search engine is good anymore. They say they infiltrate. I think they track DuckDuckGo tuna, I heard. I don't know, but that's beside the point. So if you see one of those outside your kid's window, you should pay attention. Similarly, if you see a smart meter outside your house, I mean, we don't have them here. I'm not familiar with them so much on this island. But if your kid is sleeping and there's one of those right outside, like where they have their head on the other side of the wall, that is a big problem. I will actually also link below a video my friend did. My Facebook friend. She had a very good meter. It's a German meter. And she measured the emittance from the smart meters, and it was exploding, not exploding the meter, but it was going beyond its ability to measure. It was like bleeping out the meter every few seconds. It would send out a beam. So it's not like once a day or once a week it sends to the to tell what's going on. It happens many times a minute. So then your child could there's actually scientifically a link between leukemia and childhood leukemia and frequencies. So it has health effects on people, and I feel like so many people are suffering and they don't know why. They don't know what it is. It's hard to find out because we're taught to things and think in terms of like, atoms and more like a physical way, not so much vibration, and that vibration affects us. But if we know, like a microwave, if you put a chicken in the microwave, it affects the chicken, right? And similarly, it affects the brain. The cell tower operators get cooked if they forget to turn it off when they're implementing new things in the tower and stuff. So we really do not know the long-term effects of all these things because there's no control group in science that they can see, because everybody has radiation. So you can't have with people a control group and then these are radiated, because everyone's radiated and it's constantly changing and there's more and more sources and new technology all the time. So it is difficult also to know exactly how it affects us when it's hard to like have a control group in science. But there are ways to shield, and there are things that don't work at all, and I'm going to go into those in the next video. The things that do not work, the things that work, and the things that actually make it worse. There's so much misinformation. There's so much that people sometimes don't even know the difference between radio microwave frequencies and radioactivity. They use like the word interchangeably. And people sell all kinds of like snake oil stuff that really doesn't work at all. And so the people that are seeking solutions usually find things that don't work or make it worse. But there are things that really, really work. So is there anything more I want to say about misconceptions or important things to know? A lot of people think 5G is really bad and 4G is not bad at all. Like 4G is just great and 5G is really bad. It's the same. I mean, that's not exactly the same wavelength. 5G is bad, but 4G, strong 4G, is both microwave frequencies is really bad too. And there's like they call the ones that 600 megahertz 5G, but it's technically not. It's more the millimeter waves that are between 27 and 100 gigahertz. But I think it's very important that everyone gets a meter and really explores, because there's so much exposure, and in order to keep health on a good level, if you can avoid a lot of the frequencies, you will feel a lot better. I even noticed, this is more on a spiritual level or a level of peace. I've been meditating for a long time, and it's very hard to meditate in an area or feel peace or think clearly in an area that's inundated with frequencies. I think it disturbs people's emotions and peace of mind. I noticed I used to live in an area that was really, really radiated, and it was really like kind of like dull in some way. Like nothing ever happened. People aren't thinking clearly. Where I live now, it's like very peaceful and very good frequencies. I always run into nice people, like neighborly nice people that want to help, and all these amazing things happen like all the time. People have like clarity, and I think it's just better. I don't think we're meant to be microwave, to be honest. And I think it's very important for a good quality of life to make sure that you and your loved ones are not getting too much radiation. Of course, cities are the worst. Hotels are usually bad because every room has a router and you can't really turn it off. I would seek good areas actually at this time, because it's just increasing really fast. The infrastructure is just like exploding. They're just adding and adding and adding to it. There are many areas that are good. That's also another misconception. People think you can't get away. Yes, you can get away. You just have to find those areas, and you can't know. You can't look at an area and be like, oh, it's so pristine and beautiful and natural. It's probably some of the most pristine and beautiful areas, like that are almost sacred looking, have like a big, bad, very strong cell tower right smack in the middle of it. And some, parts of town have very little radiation. Like my friend in LA has less radiation than I had where I was in Hawaii. So I was at this nice beach in Hawaii right by a hotel, and I had insane amounts of radiation, much worse than he had in LA. So you can't know, you gotta measure, and it's very important to do so. And I think it's important to measure the electrical frequencies too, and the magnetic fields that you could be exposed to. I think it's important also to learn a little bit about mitigation. So I'm going to put a video below about an expert that explains how mitigation works, because it is kind of like a science, but you can protect yourself even if you are in a city and have very high levels that you're exposed to. Anyway, I hope you learned something, and I hope that you really take steps to make yourself healthy, because it matters. It matters for your life, the direction of your life, if you're going to be healthy or sick. No person can be microwaved 24/7 and be okay. And we're all exposed to different frequencies. It's not like they put out 5G and it's fine, it wasn't a big deal. No, some people are suffering so much. They're having horrible headaches and symptoms and cancer and just like kids, especially kids, because their brains are so, they don't have a thick skull, and it goes much deeper because their brains are smaller, rather than like, for example, a big military guy. It doesn't go as deep inside his brain. And also like fat covers, fat protects. Like if you have really thick skin, if you're a big person rather than like a really skinny person, it goes like deeper into the body, it penetrates deeper in the body. So there's a lot you can do, and if you want to know exactly what you can do and what's good strategies, then I'm going to make another video about that. So I wish you health, and I wish you family health, and I hope you have a very, very good and long and healthy life. Thank you.